everyone, and welcome back. Today we're talking about that very dramatic but highly satisfying series finale of Hijack. And personally, it was 7 episodes. It ended the way it was supposed to end. It reminds me of like those 80s or 90s, I don't know, like Bruce Willis action movies where everything is going to turn out all right. The hijackers will be arrested. The plane is going to land as safely, I guess, as a plane like that can land, but it builds enough suspense and enough tension to keep you fully entertained. And so as that plane kept getting lower and lower to the ground, I was like, they are out of time, they were out of fuel, and I really thought like that plane was gonna blow up, especially when it hit the ground. Like, you just started seeing flames, and I was like, is everybody gonna make it out alive? And so the episode starts off and Amanda is in the cockpit and the passengers have taken over the plane. And explain to me why these raggedy hijackers did not replace the fake bullets with real bullets, especially considering this is not the first time these passengers have tried them. And what's even more absurd is the way that Sam is able to convince the hijacker, clearly against his own best interest, to give him the gun. I was like, sir, do not give Sam that gun. And so Sam, conveniently gets the only gun that has the, real bullets. And these other passengers don't know that. So they're taking over this plane. They feel like they finally got some power, and they point that gun at Sam. They're like, sir, we are done with you. We are tired of you being our spokesperson. They shoot a blank at him. And Sam's reaction was like, you didn't know it was a blank? This guy is over, 1,000 steps ahead. And we're right back to the beginning, right? Like, these passengers are at the total mercy of Sam. And so the question this episode is, how is he going to get us out of this one? And so luckily for them, Amanda she works in the aviation field to the point where I guess she knows enough about planes to land them. Like, that was a bit of a trip to me, but let's just go with it. And also, conveniently for the rest of the plane, he made a connection with her at the start. So, if there's anyone she was going to talk to, it was always going to be Sam's raggedy behind. And so in the last few episodes, we thought that this hijacking was about releasing these 2 criminals, but actually it was about money. And the only reason we find out about that it's about money is because we're told explicitly by one of the mystery hijackers or mystery criminals on the plane. Now, we knew this guy was shady. He looked nervous from day one. He's confused, right? He pops up. He's like, listen, guys, I don't know where this is going. This hijacking was supposed to be about money. It was supposed to end when we flew over London, and I don't really know where this is going, right? The hijackers don't know who Amanda is. Basically, everybody's confused as to where this is going, and the most confused is Amanda, right? As the episode starts, at first you think Amanda is going to be super evil, right? Because she shot that pilot like cold-blooded. So when she locked that cockpit, I was like, I think Sam has met his match. Ain't no way she's opening that door. But as the episode goes on, you realize actually she has a gun to her head. And the reason she has a gun to her head is that these criminals have basically told her that if you don't do what we say, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. But as we already know, these criminals, they don't really care, right? They're going to kill regardless, right? They don't want to leave any traces behind. And so Amanda doesn't know what to do. She's in that cockpit. She's waiting for this text message from these criminals to tell her that the deal is done, and so she can land the plane. And of course, this text message never comes through. And the reason it never comes through is because the person that was supposed to send the text message is shot. Like, when they shot that guy, I was like, I thought he was the leader. He was just giving evil leader vibes. So the fact that they just shot him like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but was that a teardrop coming from his eye? Like, what was that? I was like, you really can't trust anybody in this game. That's what you get for being a raggedy criminal. So they just shoot him. And the reason they shoot him is because the plan kind of goes on for too long, right? This hijacking is done. But this guy who gets shot basically wants to continue it because he wants to make as much money as possible for himself, right? It's not enough to pay whoever it is they need to pay, right? They need to, create a cushion for themselves so they can escape and I guess have a lot of money. But unfortunately, like, they don't got time for that, right? Like, they're about to be raided any second. And so he gets shot. And what's worse is that apparently the plan was always to shoot this guy. So he was never getting out of there alive. So now that he's dead, there's no one to send this text message. And so Amanda is just forced to believe that her job is to crash this plane. And she is under duress. The whole plane is under duress. Nobody really knows what to do. And to make matters worse, there's a lot of chaos on the ground. Like, I do appreciate how they split their time. Like, the way they divide these episodes is also why the pacing feels really good. So on the ground, they're contemplating shooting this thing out of the sky. And that one politician, like, I thought he was in on it for a second because he was way too eager to shoot that plane down, right? He was like, listen, ma'am, like, you don't have to worry your pretty head. I'll take responsibility. This is a hard call. And although he wasn't in on the hijacking, I think he wanted to basically use the situation to build a name for himself, right? As the guy who made the tough decision that nobody else could. But again, this is a very, very, like, crazy situation. Like, are we really gonna shoot a commercial plane out of the sky with our own people on it? So thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and they decided it was probably best just to evacuate the areas that could, that could get hit. And so this was this was a better solution. And so what I find interesting is that whoever these criminals are, I mean, these people on the ground, like, they don't move without a text message, right? And the person sending the text messages is now dead. And I think what was interesting about this episode is you just assumed that someone was gonna die. Like, I didn't know if Sam was gonna die, another hijacker was gonna die, or Sam's son was gonna die. Like, the fact that Sam's son was alive for that long was really perplexing to me. So he kind of pulls this clever move where he manages to get the police to come visit, but the police, being useless, basically don't do anything, right? They knock on the door, they find these cleaners there, and they don't opt to search the house. And there's a scene where Sam's son is just creeping out, and you can clearly see him, and then you have the other cleaner, with a gun to his head. And I really thought as soon as they closed that door, they were going to shoot him, right? That would have been the logical conclusion, especially considering they would have shot him if they found him in the house. Like, why didn't they shoot Sam's son? Like, what were they waiting for, right? Like, they were chilling in that apartment for way too long. I was like, what is your goal here? Like, Sam ain't coming home. His wife ain't coming home. They've already kind of gathered that this is Sam's apartment, so there's no reason for his wife to really show up, seeing how they're not together. And so his poor son, they're just sitting there watching TV, watching this plane possibly crash into London. His hands are tied and he's just chilling with these hijackers, right? And the only reason he's able to escape is because he's able to send out a message to Daniel. And I thought that was so clever. Again, the show is very clever. So on the ground, Daniel figures out that they know of Sam's home address, and he manages to call Kai, I guess Sam's son, and he makes a reference to the stationary bike in the first episode, right? This joke that he pulled to basically, let him know that we're not friends, right? That's the thing. Sam's son and this detective, like, they weren't kicking it at first, but by the end of this episode, you could tell there was some mutual respect there. So he's able to send out this clever message that the hitman kind of low-key knows is a bit sus, but still, like, doesn't think anything of it. Like, it's like, why are you still in this apartment? And so that's the only reason Sam's son is still alive. But still, I mean, I really thought he was going to be dead. So there's all this chaos on the ground, and Sam doesn't know what to do, right? Like, the first time Sam tries to talk to Amanda, she hangs up the phone. And to be honest, rightfully so. Like, we've watched Sam basically infiltrate and dismantle this hijacking on his own. And so she's like, I'm not about to listen to this. So she hangs up the phone. And so I just thought, how is Sam going to talk? How's Sam going to get them out of this, get them out? So he has this basically Liam Neeson moment where he explains what he does for a living, right? He says, I'm a closer. My job is to get people to do what I want, even if they do have a gun to their head, right? He kind of had that moment where he was like, I'm good at my job and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And to be honest, he is hella good at his job. Like, I felt bad for these passengers, right? First, they basically watch Sam tell the ground, this woman Alice on the ground, which I'll talk about in a minute, that they don't have control over the plane and they don't really know what's gonna happen. And then they have the misfortune of watching him tell Amanda that if he were in her shoes, he would do the same thing. So these passengers are just like, are you sure you're not part of the hijacking, right? So they're like, Sam is, again, he's the only one with the gun, so they have no choice but to go along with it. But you could just tell they were like, how much worse can this situation get? And so the only reason Sam is able to get into the cockpit is because one of the passengers has Amanda's phone. So as soon as they take over the plane, they redistribute the phones, and basically they got to figure out whose phone is who. And so the man sitting next to Sam had Amanda's phone, and so he runs up to Sam like he was in charge, right? He's like, Sam, like he gives him the phone, right? Like, because Sam is in charge and you gotta report back to Sam. He's like, boom, and Sam sees it and he's like, I got you. And this scene was so funny because like Sam is trying to talk to Amanda and he's trying to appeal to her humanity. Meanwhile, in the background, these guys are trying to pry open the cockpit because honestly, why not? Like, you got nothing to lose. Might as well pry this shit open. Y'all are running out of fuel. So all you see them is in the background, and then Sam being like, but why? Like, please. And so Amanda agrees to let Sam in, and only Sam. And Sam is the only one with the gun, so he goes right in. And you can tell these passengers are like so over it. They're like, this bitch, like, you really gonna make us wait outside? So inside the cockpit, Sam basically has to find a way to land this plane. And he does that with the help of this woman named Alice on the ground, who's basically the female Sam. Like, she's very stubborn. Again, like, I love how everybody on the show is so strongly motivated. Like, lady, this is above your pay grade. Like, if I got a phone call like that in her situation, I would have passed it on to the supervisor, and that is forever with the manager, right? Like, this is like, let me redirect you to someone higher than me. But this woman, Alice, she's the one who figures out from the very beginning that the false alarm sounded suspect, and basically got them all to see that this plane was in trouble. And now it is the final episode. This flight was on her flight sheet, and she was going to land that plane. She doesn't care if military is involved. She makes that clear. She's like, this is my plane, and I'm gonna land this plane. I said, all right, sis, I believe you. And she really took over like she was in charge. I'm like, and her boss was just in the background, like, you could tell like nobody really knew what to do, and nobody really wanted to be responsible for this. So they're just like, all right, Alice, like, you go ahead, you do your thing. And she did a very good job, right? She got Sam to basically confess to her that they don't know what's going on. Now that they're in the cockpit, she needs to basically tell Amanda where to land this plane. And at this point, it doesn't take much convincing right? Amanda now kind of regrets her decision, and she's ready to land this plane. And I love how Sam was like, listen, we know you're under duress. And then the home secretary on the phone was like, yeah, like, you're definitely not going to jail for this. Like, like, they would have said anything. But again, Amanda didn't need much convincing. She was exhausted. She was just like over it. And so at first she wants to land on the motorway, and Alice was like, I dare you. I don't, like, you see, stop saying motorway. You're not about to land a giant plane in the middle of the road. Like, man, you need to redirect this plane. You made it this far. Don't act like this is, don't act like you can't do it now. So they find this landing pad that's highly questionable, but has just enough space, and they have just enough time to possibly land it. So while they're landing this plane, the passengers are in complete chaos. They don't really know what to do with themselves. They're just like stressed. They want out. And I read one of the passengers wrong. Like, this elderly man, his wife, I guess he's a priest. So one of the passengers basically gets up and tells everybody, like, we made it 7 hours. You need to sit down. Like, you need to chill out. Okay. Like, it literally can't get worse from here, even though it kind of can. And turns out, his wife was like, this is why you were meant to be here. Like, boom, take your 15 minutes. Like, this is your time to shine. And again, I love how the series like points to all the, like, they never forget about the passengers. So you do get like a nice balance. Like the camera isn't always on Sam. Like they kind of give everybody equal opportunity, which I think is also what makes it entertaining, right? And so they managed to land this plane, but barely. And everybody is relieved. They thank Sam. And I love how the passengers just went right back to being, well, some of them went back to being raggedy. Like they were told explicitly to leave their on the plane and get off. And that one mom, like the way she just took her suitcase, she's like, I am not coming back to this airport. We're taking our luggage and we're leaving, right? Like that doesn't apply to families. I'm out of here. So these passengers book it off the plane. And of course they thank Sam one last time, highlighting our key characters, right? Or some of our key characters. One of them being the young girl who found the bullet at the beginning, right? She has like a nice little moment with him where she's like, are you all right? And he's like, yeah, are you all right? You know, like just letting us know that this was really a team effort. And so that was really cute, and explained why Sam took 2 hours to get off the plane. So they managed to get the hijackers, all except for one. And Sam is like patrolling that plane like he is in charge of making sure everybody's off it. Like, sir, nobody asked. Like, he's never in any rush. Like, if you watch the first episode back, he's always taking his time. And he's a very annoying character. And so he's on this plane for what seems like ages, only to realize that there's a hijacker missing. And this is the moment where you're like, okay, Sam, you're gonna get it. You've really earned this bullet, okay? So they have a standoff. The hijacker's frustrated. I'm not sure why the hijacker is frustrated. Like, he was kind of the worst hijacker in hijacking history. Like, sir, nobody told you to give him your gun. You could have shot this guy in episode 2, episode 1. Like, and to be honest, had they shot Sam, they probably would have completed their mission. So that's a whole other conversation. So really, he's frustrated with himself. He's also grieving his brother. So he's just going through a lot of emotions, and these walls are closing in, right? He's like, we are gonna go down together. And Sam is like, the hell we are. And Sam being Sam, like, he's so dramatic. Right now he understands the importance of family. Not everything has to be about him. And this whole standoff was so dramatic because the police are right outside, right? They're ready to raid this thing. And when they do manage to get onto the plane, Sam has the last word, right? Like, we basically did this whole thing for Sam to have the last word, which was, don't forget to say cheese. Right, what he told him in episode 2 before he almost hit him. But that's the thing about the show, like, Sam leaves in one piece, right? Like, these passengers got it. Some people were punched, some people were, you know, cuffed. Like, people really suffered on this flight, but Sam, he didn't get hit once. He didn't even get shot. Like, there was one flight attendant that got shot in the leg. Like, I felt really bad for him. I hope he's okay. But Sam's raggedy behind, like, he gets off that plane in one piece. Finally, in a rush to get off, right? He's like, let me just get off this plane right now. And that's how the episode ends. So overall, I thought it was very satisfying. Again, it reminded me of like those old action movies where you have a hostage taking or something dramatic happens, but in the end it all works out. Thought that the acting on the show was top notch. And again, I like how they divided their time between different characters. So it wasn't always about Sam. And I think that also helped a lot with the pacing of the show. I mean, people really went hard. I think the show knew what it was, and it committed to it quite well. Like you know what it is, right? You know what it is from episode 1. And I enjoyed it. I thought it ended I just felt like it was very satisfying. 7 episodes, perfection. What more could you ask for? You guys let me know what you think, and until next time.